Hello boys and girls, today I'm going to be doing a Star Wars review of The Force Awakens, the latest Star Wars film. I don't normally do reviews, but I thought it's got to be worth a review considering how many millions of people have actually watched this film. So it's going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the film yet I wouldn't advise watching this, because I'm going to start now. So firstly, I think it was definitely better choreographed than the prequel films, and also I think some of it was better choreographed than the original films. So I thought J.J. Abrams did a decent job of directing it, and you could really tell that he had actually directed it. If you look at some of his Star Trek films, the modern Star Trek films, there's a lot of reminiscent features. I also thought it was more interesting than the prequel films, and I thought it was more exciting as well. And you get this constant sense of pace throughout the film, and you never really get too many slow scenes, which actually suits the film well. Unlike the prequels, and you had a lot of talking scenes in them, and you didn't really get any of those in this film. It was all fast-paced. I also thought it incorporated the use of humour well, unlike the prequel films, where it just didn't really fit. Whereas in this film it was actually funnier, and the humour actually suited a lot of the scenes. Especially in characters like Finn, he was one of the new characters. And then you've got humour within Han Solo, which was just like in the original trilogy. And then you've got humour with Chewie, ironically through not speaking. And to talk about the characters, I definitely liked Finn as a new character. I thought he was funny, I thought he was interesting, and I thought he was definitely worth putting into the film. And the character of Poe, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. I thought he had a sense of humour, but it was fairly predictable, like a typical kind of American character, not that interesting. So I'm glad we didn't get to see much of him. And the character of Rey, I didn't really like the actor that played her. I didn't really think she was that interesting, and she wasn't that exciting as a character, and she didn't really use any kind of humour. I mean, it's not necessarily a prerequisite as a character, but it does aid your performance, and it does make you more likeable to an audience. And to talk about scenes in the film, I thought the first scene was great actually, because you really got a sense of the power of these new stormtroopers. You got a sense of the actual new film starting, this new generation, the First Order, and how it made actually a quite exciting scene. Even though the rebels were essentially defenceless, they didn't put up much of a fight, but it definitely was an impressive scene. Especially when you get the bit when Kylo Ren freezes that blaster weapon, and just freezes it mid-air, and then he goes and kills someone, and then he just talks for like a couple of minutes as well, and he just lets the bullet fly. Hits a tree or something, causes this massive explosion. That was definitely one of the best bits, and really gave you an insight into the power this man had, who we later found out to be Kylo Ren. And there were definitely another few interesting scenes, a couple of funny scenes as well. Parts like when they first discovered the Millennium Falcon, although I'm not really sure about the chase with the TIE fighter. I thought that was a little predictable, and it could have been better, because it seemed a little reminiscent of the original films. Now if we fast forward, like getting close to the end of the film, we essentially get to the turning point where Han gets killed by Kylo Ren. And I think that was definitely a good scene, but perhaps they could have made it a little more emotional during his actual death, if they maybe emphasised his death a little bit more, instead of switching to Chewie so quickly into the other characters. Considering the importance of the actual scene, because one of the favourite characters of the whole film franchise gets killed there. Then you got Kylo Ren, who again is one of the most important characters of this film, and that scene's essentially used to solidify his position on the dark side, and how he's reluctant to deviate, despite part of him endeavouring to actually go back to the good side. And then immediately after that bit, you get Chewie, who fires his blaster weapon and then shoots Kylo Ren. Shoots him in his stomach, and it looks a little close to his pelvic region. So then it weakens Kylo Ren significantly, and really it gives us a bit of a disappointing ending to the film. Because that sort of uses an excuse to suggest that Kylo Ren's now weaker, and now Rey can defeat him, despite being not exactly well versed in the use of the Force, even though the power of the Force is higher within her than Kylo Ren. And she's never really picked up a lightsaber before. And then she just goes and essentially defeats him in a duel. Although she does get beat at the start, but then she fights back and then wins. So I think they could have really made the ending a lot stronger, I think that was probably the weakest point in the film. You know, I'm not really satisfied with the actual lightsaber duel either. You know, I thought the duel in the Phantom Menace was better, the one with Obi-Wan and then Darth Maul. So I think if they got the ending right, it would have been definitely a better film. You know, if they got the character of Rey correct, you know, if they gave her a better actor, that would have made it significantly better too. So there's a couple of big flaws in it for me, but definitely a decent film. It's definitely worth watching, and it's definitely better than the 3 prequel films, especially as something that's choreographed as a Star Wars film. So if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it, you know, around 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10. So that's borderline 4 stars. So it's a decent film, but I wouldn't say it was amazing, unlike some, because of those significant flaws, such as the ending and then the character of Rey. So that's what I thought about Star Wars. You know, you can leave what you thought down below in the comments, or you can make your own video on it and post a link in the comments. But for now, like if you enjoyed the video, and also share the video if you thought it was worth sharing. And don't forget to subscribe too, because once I get to 50 subscribers, I'm going to consider doing a Watch Me Whip Nay Nay parody, or just use the track and then like dance to it, make it hilarious. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see that, and remain tenacious, exhibit free.